Hey trackers, what are we looking at here? Well, this is the cut end of two twigs, and both of these were gnawed off the tree by a squirrel, the western gray squirrel. You can see this sort of stair-step appearance on the cut end of this one, which shows it much better than the smaller one did. But this is from the action of the teeth as the squirrel gnawed this branch off the tree. Now, why do they do that? Let's look at the branch. So here's what's on the branch. And this is early spring. We're in the first week of April right now. And so these plants are all putting a lot of energy into growing and putting out their leaves and their buds for the coming season. And so this is a food source right now for our squirrels. And so I've been watching the squirrels, and interesting, also the California quail are feeding on these right now. I watched an entire covey of quail get up in an oak tree a couple days ago, and they were pulling on these little buds and feeding on these tender ends here. So the quail are using this as a food source, and so are the squirrels. And what the squirrel did here is it was up in the tree, and it chewed this off so it could get access to it, but then it dropped it to the ground. So I think that was an accident. I've been observing them, and they do try to feed on these little smaller ones while they're up there in the tree. And I'll grab some pictures, some still pictures to put in here. But they try to feed on these up in the tree, especially little pieces like this, which they can cut off of the tree and then hold in their hands and just feed on it. But the rest, the bigger one right here, I think it just got dropped. It was probably too big for the squirrel to handle, and it's been a windy day. So the squirrel dropped it down to the ground. And this sitting on the ground is also going to be an attractive food source, because the quail will still come to eat this, and deer might find it laying on the ground and eat it, because this is still good food even though it got dropped onto the ground. There's nothing wrong with it. The animals will still eat this. But this was, the tip shows that it was cut off the tree by the squirrel, the western gray squirrel. And I've been watching these guys for days doing this stuff. They've been feeding on this with relish. They just love this stuff. So this is from an oak tree. This one came from a California black oak. And oaks, if you are familiar with them, they have a lot of tannic acid in their acorns and in their bark and stuff. And I'm assuming in here too, but since it's early in the season, perhaps the tannic acid has not built up so much bitterness, and maybe that's why they're able to use this as a food source. But this, I thought, was kind of cool that they are doing this right now. They also use other tree species in a similar manner to this. But this is a feeding sign from a western gray squirrel.